Hey guys, happy Monday. I am Abra Kurt, a certified integrative life and wellness coach, and you are watching my series Sparked. Sparked is a weekly lifestyle series and a vibrant online community that connects right here in the comments of the show, where each week we light the fire around connection, reflection, and inspiration around all things personal growth, wellness, and the world around us. So, if you're a dreamer, a doer, or anyone who's just looking for a more meaningful, joyful, or fulfilling life, you are in the right place, my friend. So, say hi and start connecting. As you are hopping on, please say hi and let me know you're here. Hi, babe. As always, my husband is the first person to say hello. Hi, Nico. It is so great to see you again. Thank you so much for coming back. It is awesome to see you here. Nico joined us for the first time last week, and she is a returning customer. Thank you so much for being here. Mama Vicky, thank you for being here. It is awesome to see your beautiful faces. Thank you for spending this Monday evening with me. We are going to talk about some really important stuff tonight. I'm going to share the topic this evening in just a minute, but I want to talk about what Sparked is, right? So we, align our content here under an umbrella theme every single month. And then each week we have a relevant topic. We, talk about its relevance and importance in our lives. And I share some tips and resources that we can use to actually take action and make some change in our lives. And you'll also see in the description of the show each week, there are links to support our content and community. And we pay that forward. Every single week, we make a 10% contribution to charity that is doing important work in our communities and across the country. And a little bit later in the show, I'm going to tell you about this week's charity, which I'm really, really excited about. I see Trish. Hello. I see Georgie. Happy Monday, y'all. And thank you so much for being here. So October's theme is our best selves. And last week, we kicked that off with a conversation about letting our lights shine. And tonight, we are talking about overcoming distraction dysfunction. Overcoming distraction dysfunction, which is so important because, show of hands, how many of y'all get distracted on a daily basis? Because I do. And I have a really funny story to share about being distracted today while I'm finishing up my notes for tonight's show about overcoming distraction. So that is what we're going to talk about tonight. I'm going to share some ways that we can actually identify where the distractions are creeping into our days. I'm going to talk about the 8 kinds of distractions we face. Yes, I've actually categorized them into 8 different things because I'm in many ways the queen of distractions. I'm also going to reveal the number one cause of our attention deficit. And of course, we don't talk about the problem here at Sparked without offering some tips and resources to actually regain our focus and maintain it over the long term. So we're going to identify the problem and share some tips and resources for overcoming it. All right, so if that sounds good to you guys, if that lights your spark, please send up some hearts for overcoming distraction and hit the share button, you guys. Hit the share button because everybody that's scrolling through their Facebook feeds right now seeing this might want to learn a thing or two about overcoming distractions, right? So let's spread some positivity through our social media feeds. Hit that share button, send up some hearts for overcoming distraction and maintaining our focus because you guys, we are going to need it. We are going to need it. I don't know where my astrology peeps are. If we have any among y'all, Georgie, Mama Vicky, Trish, Nico, I don't know. Are you guys into astrology? I am. I'm a Virgo. I'm a big believer in the power of the moon and stars. And Mercury retrograde starts tomorrow, y'all, and it lasts through election day. So we are going to need all the focus we can muster over these next few weeks. All right, you guys. So before we dive in to our content, you know what we start our weeks off with here at Sparked. And that is the quote of the week. Thank you guys for sharing the quote of the week. And this week's quote is actually a Zen proverb, because who better to offer some words of wisdom about maintaining laser focus than our Zen Buddhist friends, right? They have a lot to offer us around this topic. And so this week's quote of the week is actually a Zen proverb. And this is what it says: when walking, walk. When eating, eat. When walking, walk. When eating, eat. And it's a Zen proverb, you guys. And I wanted to share that because it's so simple, yet so profound and so hard to do. Because how many of us just sit down to eat a meal and just focus on eating, right? No, we're working through lunch, or we're, watching television, or we're multitasking and doing things, right? Or, it's become trendy now to take meetings while you're outside walking, like all of those things, right? We're trying to multitask and just squeeze as much in as possible. And we're not just walking when we walk. We're not just eating when we eat. We're not just doing the thing that we're supposed to be doing. We're not just focusing on our meeting that should be super important for the work that we do, right? Or whatever it is that we're doing, right? We're trying to cram all these things in. When walking, walk. When eating, eat. So that is the quote of the week. Thank you for everybody who shared. Thank you so, so much. It lets people know what we're talking about here at Sparked. It brings more people in. And you guys, I do every week get emails and messages from folks who are like, oh gosh, this is some one thing like really, really resonated with me. So glad I was able to catch the replay. Even for the people who don't join us here live, there's value in sharing in this community. So thank you. All right, so our Zen proverb is going to get us in the mindset for our conversation tonight, right? We're going to center, we're going to focus. When we walk, we're going to walk. When we eat, we're going to eat. We're going to do the one thing. And I also want to just talk about the word distraction for a minute, all right? So let's actually think, because I'm, English major word nerd here. So the word distraction is two parts. So it's the word traction. So I want you guys to see distraction. I want you to see it in your heads. So the word traction, right? What does that mean to you? It's like getting a grip on something, right? It's like taking hold at something that's going to keep moving us forward, right? Traction, like we buy tires, right? For their traction, for their ability to do well in snow, depending on where we live, or rain, or, the roads, right? So traction is what gets us a good grip on something, keeps us moving forward, right? Now, when you add the prefix dis to something, it actually has a negative effect, or like a reversing effect on the word, right? So distraction means we're losing our grip. We are losing our forward momentum. We are losing our traction. So if we think of it in the metaphor of that car, right, the tires on our car, distraction on some level is our car is skidding all over the road in the middle of a blizzard, and that's no good, you guys. That is no good. So I want us to get a picture of what distraction is. It's reversing traction. It's losing our grip. It's skidding all over the road because we're not focused in our lane and moving forward where we want to be. So now that we kind of know what the word looks like, we're getting a clear picture of it in our head, right? We know we're distracted during the day. I want you guys to share with me and with each other in the comments, what are things that distract you on a day-to-day basis? Like, what are some big things that are just like time sucks for you? Where are your distractions creeping up in your day-to-day life? Please take to the comments. I want to read what's distracting you guys, because I am going to share some of my big ones. All right, so take to the comments, share where your distractions are coming from on a day-to-day basis. And while you're doing that, I'm going to share some of mine, because as I mentioned at the top of the show, I have categorized these for us tonight because I have lived them all. And for me, I get sucked into household chores. I mentioned I'm a Virgo, so I'm always like tidying things up and straightening, books and doing all the things. And I can't walk past, the blankets in the living room without folding them up or, zhuzhing them on the sofa or, a dish in the sink or the pile of laundry that needs done, right? So the household chores that you think, oh, I'm just going to straighten this blanket, and then 30 minutes later, after we vacuumed the floor and fluffed all the pillows and put new books out or did whatever, right? So those household chores are a big distraction for me. Vicky says politics on TV. Yeah, that's a big one right now, right? Distraction, but an important one too, right? Because we also need to know what's going on in the world, but there's a point when it's like all just, it's overload, right? It's too much and it's the only thing. It's the only thing that we're seeing on the news. Scott says phones, social media, and texting. Yes, you guys. Yes, yes, yes. That is a big one for me. That is a big one for me. Who's distracted by your phone? Who has ever said the words, I'm just checking my phone. I'm just, give me 1 second. I just need to check my phone. What are we checking, you guys? What are we checking when we say that? What does that, so think about like words matter, right? Word nerd. So when we're checking our phones, are we making sure is this thing on? Is it breathing? Are we taking its temperature, right? Like what is so important? What do we need to check on our phones, right? So it's like the emails, it's texts, it's our social media, it's all of these things, right, that are distracting us on our phones and keep us on those screen devices for, 20 minutes. And then before we realize it, as we talked about several weeks ago, 20 minutes a day turns into a week of time at the end of the year. So when we say checking our phones, what does that really mean? What are we really doing? We're not checking our phones. We're checking our emails. We're checking our texts. We want to get on social media. We want to do all the things, right? Trish says Facebook, politics, and her phone. Yes. Georgie says texting her husband and Facebook. Yeah. And this is not in my resource list, but I want to bring this up right now, you guys, because I just recently watched The Social Dilemma, the documentary on Netflix. So if you guys haven't watched The Social Dilemma, I highly recommend checking it out because I see a lot of us talking about our phones, our screens, our social media, right, our distractions. And The Social Dilemma is a documentary on Netflix that is focusing on people who actually worked in these tech industry spaces. So there's people from Facebook, there's people from Google, there's people from Instagram, people who were inside and have like decided to share some of the insider information about the ways that these tools are engineered to be addictive on purpose. And that we are actually the commodity that is being traded in, right? Like we think these are tools that we're using, right? But you've probably heard this expression before, but if you're not paying for something, you are the product. So they talk about how our attention is the product in social media, right? Our spending habits, right? Because it's the advertisers who pay for these things, not us. So it's our attention, it's our spending habits. There are millions and millions of dollars being devoted to predicting what we do and perfecting how to predict those things so that they can control our behavior on our devices. So it's not us, you guys, it's not all our faults, right? It's not all our faults. These things are designed and there's tons and tons of money being pumped in to figuring out how to make them addictive on purpose because people are making oodles of money off of it. All right, Vicky says she remembers Scott saying several years ago he did not want to be tethered to his phone. I wonder if that's still the case. It is. It is. And I have to say, here in our house, my husband is the phone police on some levels. And I've asked him to help be my accountability partner for distractions. And, when especially in the mornings, I get distracted, I'm supposed to be journaling or I should be up on the elliptical by now or meditating or doing whatever. And I'm still, journaling, but I have my phone open and he'll say, are you distracted right now? And I'll be like, no, and just slide my phone away, right? When the answer is yes. So, a lot of us are distracted by our phones, our social media, things on TV, right? So how often do those distractions actually cause us to leave things unfinished or whatever we're doing not done very well? Like, especially the unfinished part. Like, how many things do we just lose track of that we even started doing during the day because we got sucked into something else and totally forgot about it. And you guys, I'm a huge example of this when it comes to my morning coffee. Where are my coffee microwavers? Who microwaves coffee? Um, who's here tonight? Because you guys, I do. I have to have my coffee every morning, and it will get cold after a while, and I'll microwave it. But while it's microwaving, I'll pick up my phone, or I'll go to put a load of laundry in, and then I'll realize like, oh, I should be journaling by now, or I should be upstairs meditating at this point in my day. And I can't tell you how many times either myself or my husband will find my coffee mug, my sad, pathetic, now really cold again coffee in my coffee mug in the microwave hours later or even the next morning because I put it in there to microwave it and finish it and got distracted by something, and there it still sits. So yeah, he says I'm getting better. Thanks, you're helping. Yeah, Vicky, raise your hand. Like coffee microwaver, huge coffee microwaver here, and it ends up sitting around more often than not because I get distracted. All right, you guys. So yeah, things half done, things unfinished. It happens because of distractions, and you guys know I love sharing comic strips that I cut out of the newspaper. Scott says he knew his mom would claim that one. So you guys, this is a comic strip about distraction on some level. So I'm going to share this. This is Frank and Ernest, which isn't one I typically read or cut out to share, but this was super relevant. So Frank and Ernest are these two guys. They're sitting around hanging out, and as you see, there's this like half-finished, I don't know, she shed or something over there in the corner. I don't know what it is. I know it's like two kind of chubby guys, but we'll call it a she shed for the purposes of this show, right? Because, who doesn't want a she shed, right? So there's a half-finished she shed over here, and Frank and Ernest are sitting around looking at it. And one of them, and I don't know which one is which, but either Frank or Ernest says, "It's funny how often a person with a project at a complete standstill will describe it as a work in progress. It's funny how often a person with a project at a complete standstill will describe it as a work in progress." And my coffee in the microwave in the mornings is one of those, works in progress, right? And so that was kind of funny, right? The she shed is half built. We got distracted, we're building our she shed, and then school started, or, whatever happens, right? And now it sits out there with its wood and paint and it's unfinished, but we're doing this other thing, and then we move on to something else, right? But you guys, I want to say something about the works in progress, because this is a funny comic that I cut out of the paper. But it doesn't just apply to she sheds. You guys, the work in progress thing applies to us. It applies to us just as much. So I want this to sink in for a minute, okay? How many of you guys have ever said you're a work in progress about something? I have. I know I have. I'd say it so many times, like, oh, I'm not quite there yet, but it's a work in progress, right? Like, oh, I want to get better at meditating, or I want to, make yoga a regular part of my life, or I want to learn French this year, right? It's a work in progress. And we say that, but is it true? Is it true? And it's only true, right, if, like our comic strip shows us here, we're actually working on the she shed. We're actually building it. We're actually doing the thing. So the next time we think about being a work in progress, or we use that phrase, let's think about what that actually means, right? Because it's a work in progress if work is happening, but if not, it's just an unfinished she shed. All right, Trish says she drinks her latte cold, thank goodness, but she misplaces her phone and glasses. Yeah. So for those who don't have to microwave their things, it's probably a good thing that you don't leave your cup in the microwave like I do. Donna says we are all works in progress. Yeah, as long as we're doing the work. As long as we're doing the work. Because if not, we're just those, abandoned she sheds that aren't even painted yet. All right, so I wanted to share that, you guys, because it was funny, but also really kind of deep on some level, because it applies to us as people too, I think. Okay, so we know we leave our microwave, our cups in the microwave. We're distracted by social media. We're distracted by our phones, all the things. How can we get better at recognizing that and actually correcting it, pivoting from that behavior before it sucks our time away too much, right? So I have 3 tips I want to share for actually identifying the parts of our day where things start to go off the rails, okay? And also for identifying what our biggest time sucks are when it comes to our screen time. All right, so the number one strategy I want to share for kind of identifying like how and where things are going off the rails. You guys, who all are my Apple, iPhone, iPad peeps out here? I have an iPhone. I don't know if this feature is on Android phones. So if anybody has an Android phone and you know that this is a feature, share in the comments because I'm not sure. But I know this is a feature in Apple devices. So it's the screen time feature, you guys, and it's really valuable if you enable it and use it. And it's valuable because it will make you gasp at how much time you spend on your screened devices. So if you go to your settings, okay, you just click on your settings and you scroll down, there's a little feature on your phone called screen time. It's just right there in your settings. You just scroll down to screen time and it will tell you what your daily average is. If you're up from last week or if you're down from last week and you're spending less time on your screen, you can click see all activity and it actually tells you how many hours you spent on your screens today and in what buckets you spent that time. So whether it was social networking, productivity, entertainment, it will tell you. And you guys, it's a super valuable tool, but it is not for the faint of heart because over a week's worth of time, you will see that it's probably more than just 20 minutes a day that are being sucked into some of these distractions, right? Now, productivity can be anything from like, my meditation app to my email programs to my, shared calendar app that Scott and I use so we know what's going on with each other's, day-to-day schedules, right? So productivity can mean a lot of different things. It can even mean email when we're like, just scrolling to, on an email thread. Social media, pretty obvious, right? And entertainment is probably everything from like buying books on Amazon to, watching something on Netflix on our screens to playing games, right? So all of those things, it will tell us in the screen time feature how much time we're spending doing those things. And you guys, it's, just brace yourselves. It's like the feature on Amazon that tells you how much money you've spent there over the past year. Now that you know, you're going to want to go check. Because the first time I did, it was a little bit terrifying. All right, so Trish says, letting anxiety block our progress. Yes, our anxiety can block our progress a lot. Our anxiety can distract us from keeping us focused, and that can be one of the hardest things to overcome, right? So anxiety is more of a mental, emotional, physical manifestation, right, in many different ways of other issues that creep up in our lives and manifest that way that distract us. So our anxiety is very different from a phone addiction, although it can manifest in different ways, right? That like OCD kind of behavior, right? The addiction that is cultivated by the tech industry, right? So it can look very different depending on who we are and what issues we face, right? But the screen time feature on our phones, and if anybody is an Android user and that is a feature, let us know because I don't know, but it's a helpful feature to let us know how we're spending our time. Nico said she's a microwave coffee queen. Yeah, big time, and it sits in there cold more often than not, sadly, because of distractions. Okay, so number 1, the screen time feature. Number 2, if you're not using a paper day planner, I highly recommend that you do. I recommend day planners to all of my clients who struggle with time management, and that's pretty much all of us on some level, right? So anyone who struggles with time management, who struggles with distractions, use a paper day planner, you guys, and use it for everything. Use it for everything. Like Work meetings go in there. You block off your work day if it, looks a certain way. Your personal stuff, date nights with, the significant other, right? Dentist appointments, like all the things, right? Time to read at night before bed. All the things go in there. And I use Day Designer. Yeah, I'm going to plug Day Designer for a minute for a couple of different reasons. So I use a paper Day Designer planner. I've used it for years. And I've actually tried other ones and that have been highly recommended by people I trust and respect. But for me personally, the Day Designer is just the one that did all the things I needed it to do without having extra features I didn't really need. And the thing I love about Day Designer is you get your whole year in one thing. And some of the other ones I tried were like quarterly planners, and then you had to buy it multiple times a year, and they turned out to be more expensive, and it was just features I didn't need. So Day Designer, you guys, if anybody is looking for a great planner and you're like, yeah, I've thought about going back to a paper planner because I have my digital calendar for work, but I don't always put all my personal stuff in there. Your paper planner is the thing that can house all of it, and should, so that you can look at your day and actually see the way you want to break out your time, right? And what I love about Day Designer is there's the big three at the top that actually, you list your top 3 things that you want to get done for the day. Then there's the whole day's worth of time. I think it starts at 6 or 7 a.m. and goes until like 7 or 8 at night, and it's in half-hour increments. So you can block out your time for the things that you want to be doing during the day at particular times. If you have meetings, if you have appointments, all the things, right? Yoga class, take the kids to soccer, whatever it is. And then there's like other note sections and things like that. And I write everything down. I use it on the weekends too, you guys. All the things go into the Day Designer. And it's a really great tool for recognizing where our distractions come in, especially if you use all of the features, right? Your big 3 for the day and your half-hour increments, because one of the most important things that we can do at the end of our days is actually reflect back on the things that we did, and also then tee up the next day, right? And so if we go back through our day and we look at how we wanted to spend our time and what the top 3 things were we wanted to get done, and we're like, crap, I only got one thing on my list done today, and I had to push that thing to noon because this ran over, and we start seeing, right? The data tells a story, right? Our time tells a story of where the distractions are creeping in, how we're actually spending our time, and what we're prioritizing by the things that we're like, I didn't get that done today, because we sacrificed that to do something else, right? So the data starts to tell a story, and that happens when we can see it in one place, when we write it down, and we can really kind of study it and learn from it. So paper planner, I love Day Designer, and you guys, I'm super excited to let everybody know that as of the past week, I am officially a Day Designer affiliate. So on my website, abrakurt.com, there is a little widget now for Day Designer, and if you click on my widget and go to Day Designer and shop Day Designer, through my website, it actually supports me and my work and my community. And I don't endorse products lightly, you guys, just to get a commission off something. I only endorse things I love, that I find helpful and meaningful and useful, and that I really think people can get value in. So I'm super excited to not only be a Day Designer fan and user, but also now an official affiliate of the Day Designer universe. So you can go to my website and click on the widget and check all of their offerings out right now. The new 2021 planners are just coming out, and they are beautiful. And that's the other thing I love about them. They have really beautiful covers, and there's, covers of all different colors and patterns and things that, kind of can appeal to anybody. So Vicky says she totally relies on her planner. She would miss appointments without it. Me too. If I don't write it down, it doesn't happen. If I don't write it down, it doesn't happen. And I've come to realize too that even if I have like a thought that creeps into my head, like, oh, this would be a great topic for content or something like that, I need to just go write it down, like right in the moment, because I will forget it. Scott says Day Designer rules. Yes, we love our Day Designers in this house. All right. Third tip is to actually write out what you want your ideal week to look like, and then compare that to actually tracking your time for 3 random days. I recommend this exercise to clients as well who struggle with time management, because again, the information tells a story. And so if you have a Day Designer, or a lot of other planners do this too, A lot of other ones do this too. Like I was using the Michael Hyatt Full Focus Planner, and they have the ideal week set up in that planner as well. That was one of the ones that are quarterly. But it gives you an opportunity. It blocks out, all the hours of Monday, the hours of Tuesday, all the days of the week, and you actually plot in like, this is what I want my week to shake out like. So if you know that your work days are, 9 to 6 or whatever that looks like, you take your lunch break here, you go to yoga class Tuesdays and Thursdays, the kids go to soccer on Saturday mornings, whatever the week typically looks like. Now, this isn't where you do the day-to-day things like that, once every 6 month dentist appointment doesn't go in the ideal week, right? But this is what typically you want your week to look like, right? And you block out everything. And when I say everything, I mean everything. And this is something also that we don't realize we need to do, especially for those of us who have really busy, multifaceted lives, kids, spouses, jobs, personal responsibilities with, faith communities or volunteer activities or whatever it is that we're doing, busy, packed, jammed lives. We need to schedule all of the things. And that means our personal stuff too, and our things that matter. Like our time, our schedules, right? Our calendars should reflect our values and our priorities across the board, professional and personal. So that means date nights go in the planner, okay? Kids' soccer games or, quality time as families go in the planner. Like reading, our personal time, right? Our meditation time, our workout time, all of the things that we care about, if we don't make time for it and actually call it out and name it and give it time in our days, those are the things that don't happen. So all of it goes in the paper planner, right? All of it. And so then we do our ideal week, and then we track 3 random days. I like to do 2 weekdays and a weekend day and write down all the things in, and you guys, this is important, 15-minute increments. 15-minute increments, and you carry a little notebook around, and it goes with you everywhere, okay? To the bathroom. It goes everywhere. You write down how long you took to shower that day, like all the things. How long did it take me to do my hair and my makeup? You write down all the things. How long did it take me to cook dinner? Like for 15 minutes, I did a load of laundry and took out the trash. Whatever it is, you actually write down all the things, and then you compare that to your ideal week, and you say, that doesn't look anything like I wanted it to. I'm doing all this stuff and I didn't write down any of it. And you realize like, yeah, maybe these are things I need to do. Like I didn't actually make time for laundry. And then we realize we're not getting the important things done, right? Like taking time to work out or spending more time with our family or date night with our significant other, because we have to do all these other chore things that we didn't make time for either. So all of it goes in the planner, okay? Laundry, housework, cleaning day, all the things, right? All of it. Date night, kids time, all of it goes in the planner. So we make time for all the things, and we can actually do the things when we want to do them. And we're not sacrificing one thing because something else has to get done and we didn't put it in there. But we can see where the distractions start to come in by comparing those ideals against actuals, right? By seeing, did I get my top 3 things done today? And with the screen time feature on our phones, because it will tell you how long your screen was open in those apps, and it might not be pretty, you guys, but knowing is power, right? Knowledge is power, and it's what helps us take corrective action and get better moving forward. Okay, so those are my 3 tactics for actually identifying where the distractions are creeping in, like where the wheels come off the wagon, where the car is like skidding off the road, right? Where we're losing our traction. So those are the 3 ways. Screen time, if you're an Apple device user and maybe Android, don't know, get a day planner, personal paper planner, write all the things down, and then do an ideal week versus an actual week and see where the discrepancies are. All right, so now that we know how to identify sort of when and how the distractions are creeping in, I want to talk about the 8 kinds of distractions we face on a day-to-day basis. And I've thought about all the things, and I've grouped them into 8 categories. Some of this I've learned from, reading about it, and some of it I've like, okay, this is a thing that happens more often than not, and it deserves its own category. And I've identified eight kinds of distractions that we face on a day-to-day basis. And number one, a lot of you have probably heard of this already, right? A lot of you have probably heard this already, but it's FOMO. FOMO, right? FOMO. And that stands for fear of missing out. And that's the thing that keeps us checking our phones, right? Checking our texts, checking our social media, checking our email, right? Did I miss a call? Did I miss a notification, right? It's the FOMO. I fear of missing something, right? Did I miss a breaking news headline, right? So that FOMO is a huge distraction. And frankly, I think they should call it PHONO. But then it wouldn't really be an acronym, but it would be accurate because I think all of that is probably centered around these devices that are engineered to be addictive on purpose. The Social Dilemma documentary on Netflix, you guys. But the things like this, right? Like our live shows where we connect and we learn things, and we actually, connect with family and friends who we can't see in person right now. Those things are important. Those things are valuable social media time. It's the distractions, it's the rabbit holes, it's the political arguments, it's all the other things, right, that suck up our time, that are distractions. All right, FOMO, number one. Number two, shiny little fishies. Shiny little fishies. And my husband is probably the only other person on the planet who knows what I mean by shiny little fishies. But it's a reference to the Grumpy Cat movie. There was if you guys remember the internet sensation Grumpy Cat, who, rest her little soul, passed away last year, I believe. But the internet sensation Grumpy Cat had a Lifetime movie at Christmas a couple of years ago, and it was an instant classic at our house. And there's a scene, it's Christmas time, but there's like a burglary at the mall, and Grumpy Cat and her little friend are trying to thwart the burglars, and they're, running from the bad guys or trying to, save the day. And Grumpy Cat gets distracted by a display of like fishing lures in a camping store where they're trying to hide. And she starts batting at them, and she's like, shiny little fishies, shiny little fishies. And she knocks over the display, and it gives them away, and the bad guys know where they are. But so we also know them as like the bright, shiny objects, right? The shiny little fishies. Scott says Grumpy Cat. Dawn says screen time is never pretty. Yeah, you guys. And actually, I just want to say something about that. Dawn, thank you for reinforcing that, because if we look at the tech execs in Silicon Valley, across the board, you guys, they say their kids don't get a lot of screen time. They know what's going on. Their kids don't get devices at young ages. They are not allowed to spend endless hours in front of the screen because they know the dangers of it, right, you guys? And I'm not just talking about like the dangers of people, preying on kids. I'm talking about the dangers of becoming addicted to screen time. And so, yeah, screen time is never pretty. So, shiny little fishies, the bright, shiny objects, right? Distraction, the things that catch our eye, right? The things that, or our ears, right? So we hear something and we're like, oh, what was that? What did they say on the news? Because we had the TV on in the background and we're like, oh, Lord, what happened now? And so we walk over and turn up the TV, and then we, watch breaking news for 15 minutes, and, there goes that time, right? Or it's like walking through the living room and I'm like, oh my God, these pillows and blankets are all jacked up. So I'm just going to take some time and like fix all this, right? Or the mugs that need washing in the sink, or the pile of laundry that needs doing, right? Because we didn't actually block time to do those things, or we didn't straighten up the sofa before we went to bed last night. And so now it's all, whatever, right? So the shiny little fishies can be like good distractions. They can be things like, oh, like things that we enjoy or want to be distracted by. Like, oh, I just got an email that, it's friends and family week at, my favorite store. So I'm going to do some shopping right now. Or, oh, look, it's the cookie jar or the Halloween candy's out, right? I'm just going to have a piece of Halloween candy. And then you sit down and it's like 3 pieces of Halloween candy, right? So the shiny little fishies, the bright, shiny objects, the things that are just like, ooh, hey, look at that thing. And then our time is sucked, right? or the things that we hear, and then we, get distracted by them, right? So shiny little fishies. All right, number 3, third kind of distraction, OPP. You guys remember the song from the early 90s, You Down with OPP? All right, I am not down with this kind of OPP. In this instance, you guys, yeah, and a lot of these I just made up my own cute, funny little names for. But OPP, in this instance, stands for other people's problems. Other people's problems distract us. All right, and this looks like anything from like, Mom, where's my green soccer shirt for this week? Is it in the laundry? Or like, hey babe, where's the scissors that are always in the kitchen desk drawer? Or like, the colleague that like you was supposed to do part of a, report project with you, and you thought they were working on it this whole time, and now it's due, and they're like, oh my God, Karen, I totally forgot to like do this thing, and there's this research due, and I have to finish this part. Can you just do this thing, because otherwise we're not going to get it in today? And now somebody else's problem, other person's problem, right, is now your distraction because you were already working on something. And so we are not down with OPP when it totally takes our focus away from the thing. Now, if it's just like saying, hey, honey, your shirt is in the laundry, or I don't know where the scissors are, just keep looking, like those kinds of things, right? We can just kind of pivot and get back to what we're doing. But like the other people's problems that really suck us away and distract us on a regular basis is where we need to start setting some boundaries around our time and letting people know, like, this is constantly coming up for me, and just straight talk, right? Straight talk. All right, other people's problems. Number 4. I call this one the anesthetics. The anesthetics. And you guys know what anesthetics are, right? Anesthesia. So it's the things that, knock us out when we're going to have surgery, right? It's the things that, we're going to have a wisdom tooth pulled and we need anesthesia to numb the pain or to just knock us out, right? So the anesthetics in our lives are the things that zone us out. It's the, I'm just going to watch this one episode of something on Netflix that turns into a 6-episode binge. It's the mindless snacking to, mask the frustration or feelings about the colleague at work who's like keeps having problems that interrupt our day, right? And so we just eat our feelings. It's that kind of whatever we do to just numb the pain, numb the frustration, numb the anger, numb our days. So those are what I call the anesthetics, and those are distractions that we choose, right? So not all distractions are just accidental or the hardwiring of technology or other people, right? There are some distractions that we choose, and those are anesthetics. Vicky says, yes, Grumpy Cat was a fun movie for everyone. Everybody, let's give a shout out to Grumpy Cat. Let's send up some hearts for Grumpy Cat. You guys, I loved that cat. And we bought that movie on DVD and we watch it every year at Christmas. And I'm super excited for Christmas again this year to watch me some Grumpy Cat. All right, so number 5, you guys, kind of distraction. I call these the filler episodes in our days. And these are the things that are like the transitions between activities, right? You have like a meeting that ends, and then before you have to go to your next Zoom call, right, you have like 15 minutes. And so you pull out your phone, or you're like, I'm just going to put one load of laundry in, or I need to do this thing, or I'm walking between buildings, or I'm walking from the metro to, my office building, or whatever it is, right? And there's actually a term for these. They're called liminal moments in our lives. And God forbid we just let them be what they are, right? When we're walking, that we walk from our metro stop to our office building, or that we, use the time between meetings to actually be more prepared for the next one, or whatever, right? No, we have to fill them with doing something. We check our phones, right, to make sure they're still breathing, and take their temperature, or do whatever the thing that we need to check our phone for, right? We, try to cram in something in between those times, and then it ends up taking longer than we thought it would. Pushes our schedule back for the day if we didn't have like a deadline or somewhere that we needed to be at a certain time, right? So those filler episodes, the things that we do to fill time between things that end up just creating bigger chunks of time that are, at the end of the day, just distractions. Okay. Number 6 rabbit holes. How many of you have ever said, I went down the rabbit hole of whatever, right? You read something on the internet and you're like, oh my God, is that true? And then you Google it and you're like, oh, that's interesting. And then you Google that thing. And 30 minutes later, you know everything about the most haunted house in America, but you didn't get, your yoga workout in during that time because we were learning about the most haunted house in America or whatever it is, right? I like to read about haunted houses, so that might be something that distracts me, and especially this time of year. But yeah, the rabbit hole is something. It starts as one thing that you read, and then you just go deeper and deeper and deeper. And whether it's like the comments thread of like a celebrity tweet or Facebook post, and like all of the arguments on a political topic or whatever it is, but we go down those rabbit holes, right? And it's a time suck and a distraction. Scott says YouTube rabbit holes. Yeah, I'm sure. Donna, raise your hand. Yeah, those rabbit holes that we just like, and then it's harder and harder to dig out of them, right? Because our attention is so focused. And just imagine if we could focus our attention on the things that actually move the needle on our goals and dreams, right? Instead of going down those rabbit holes, how much farther ahead we'd be. But I know everything about a haunted house, and I didn't work out today. Okay, the last two, 7 and 8, are actually two sides of the same coin. Two sides of the same coin. And that coin is sabotage. Sabotage, you guys. Sabotage is a form of distraction, and it comes in two forms. One is external and one is internal. And external sabotage looks like the intentional interruption of your day, right? The colleague who knows that you're in the middle of something and they just want to come over and hang out, although most of us aren't in offices right now. But if you have IM, instant messenger on, your intranet at work or whatever it is, right? And they're just constantly interrupting, right? It's like the sabotage of, your day, right? Your significant other knows that you're trying to work out or get healthier, and they put the box of donuts on the kitchen counter, right? And then you're like, I love donuts. And then you stand there and eat a donut. And it's not only a time suck, but it's sabotaging a goal, right? So it's a distraction from a goal. And at the end of the day, that's what we're talking about, distraction in all its forms, right? Not just time things like phone and social media and, news, but things like donuts can be a distraction too, and it can be a form of internal and external sabotage. Now, an internal form of sabotage might be those things like, well, I know I have this report due, but oh God, I hate doing those. It's a report for, a funder, or it's a government report, or it's something, and those are so detailed and time consuming, and I hate it, and I'm just going to put that off. And so I'm just going to do something instead that makes me feel better than sitting down and doing one of those reports, right? And so then it's the day the report's due, and maybe we didn't even start it yet, and so now we're scrambling because we procrastinated, and we think that we work better under pressure, but do we really? Because now we're stressed and we're doing this thing that we hate doing anyway, and now it's really cramming up our day because we waited too long to do it, right? We didn't plan, we didn't follow our day plan or schedule. And so now here it is, the report's due. We intentionally, internally sabotaged ourselves by choosing to do something else. And now our whole day is thrown off because the thing is here, and if we'd just done the little chunks of work along the way as we had planned, it would be done by now. So that's what sabotage looks like. It can be external, it can be internal, and it can be accidental, but it can also be intentional, and often is. And so it's important to be able to identify that and head it off at the pass. All right, you guys, so many distractions, right? If there are just 8 different categories of distractions, and then you think about all the different kinds of distractions that fall into each of those buckets, so many distractions, so many. But right now, I want to share a positive distraction from all of the negativity in the world. You guys know one of my favorite things to do on the show is the moment of joy. And we just renamed that segment from Good News to Moment of Joy last week. And you guys, this week's moment of joy is all about this guy. Who who knows? Everybody knows who this is. I don't have to ask who knows who this is. Everybody knows who this is. Where are my Baby Yoda peeps? Please raise your hands. Share in the comments if you love Baby Yoda as much as we do in this house. Yes, we love Baby Yoda so much that we bought our kitties a little plush Baby Yoda doll, and that is why I have this as a prop for tonight's show. We already had one. But tonight's moment of joy is about Baby Yoda, you guys. So I'm going to hold Baby Yoda while I read Moment of Joy. This week's Moment of Joy is about Baby Yoda, a 5-year-old boy named Carver Tinning, and a selfless act that has turned into an internet sensation. All right, so Carver Tinning is a 5-year-old boy who lives in Oregon. And you guys, he heard about the wildfires happening in his community and the heroic wildfire firefighters who were doing things to rescue people and, save everyone from the fires. And he wanted to do something kind for them, for these firefighters who are risking their lives and helping people in his community in Oregon. So there was a local donation, place for people who wanted to make any kind of donations to the cause, to the firefighters, to the people who were losing things in the fire. So 5-year-old Carter said he wanted to donate his Baby Yoda doll to the firefighters in case they got lonely. So Carver and his grandmother Sasha dropped off Carver's Baby Yoda doll at a local donation drive for firefighters in Molalla and Colton, Oregon. So it was firefighters in those two regions of Oregon. Colton dropped off his Baby Yoda doll, and he hand wrote a note and pinned it with Baby Yoda, and it said, "Thank you, firefighters. Here is a friend for you in case you get lonely. Love, Carter." Since then, the firefighters have been taking Baby Yoda on all of their firefighting adventures with them. He's going out on calls with them. They've dressed him up. They've put a little bandana on his head. They've put some other bling on him. They take Baby Yoda's picture everywhere. He goes from fire station to different shelters, to different points all over their journeys, and they're sharing him among the firefighter communities in Oregon, fighting the wildfires. And you guys, check this out. There is a Facebook group, and I know I'm about to create a new distraction here, but this is a good kind of distraction, but don't take too long and don't do it right now. But when you get a chance, Baby Yoda Fights Fires is a Facebook group where you can see all the pictures that all of the fire communities have been taking and sharing of Baby Yoda, hanging out with them and helping them keep up their morale while they're fighting the wildfires in Oregon. So you guys, it's Facebook.com/Baby Yoda Fights Fires is the Facebook group, and one 5-year-old little boy has brightened the lives of some firefighters and created a new internet meme sensation with Baby Yoda traveling all over Oregon. So let's send up some hearts and say woohoo for Carver, for Baby Yoda, and for those heroic firefighters all over the West Coast, you guys, who are fighting fires not only in Oregon, but in California and Nevada and all the places who are being ravaged by those fires. So hearts for Carver, for Baby Yoda, and our firefighters, you guys. All right. Some good distractions. All right. So now it's time to reveal. I promised you guys I was going to share the number one cause of our attention deficit. The number one cause of our attention deficit, you guys. And it's kind of obvious, but not, right? You might not think, because some people wear it as a badge of honor. The number one cause of our attention deficit is multitasking. And by definition, right, you guys, by definition, multitasking is admitting to distraction. It's saying, I'm going to try to do more than one thing at once, and I'm not going to be able to give my whole attention to this thing because I'm also doing this thing. And I can tell you this, that when I was in corporate America, you guys, it was a badge of honor. It was a badge of honor. A lot of us on my team were spread out all over the country. We would have conference calls all the time. These were the days before we had to do it all by Zoom. So we were on conference calls. And every single one, I don't ever remember a single call that just went perfectly smoothly and everybody was engaged and fully present and just, sharing their parts and doing the things and being efficient and getting it done. No. There was always somebody that was like, "Oh, wait, sorry." You would ask them a question and they'd be, "What was that?" I'm sorry. I was multitasking as though that was a good thing, right? And I talked a couple weeks ago about how when I was in the position a while back to hire an assistant at a role I had, I used the everything is figure outable mindset in my job description to see if anybody, kind of got it and mirrored that back to me. One of the things I used to rule out candidates was people who said they were excellent multitaskers. I actually would not even interview those people because I don't think you can be an excellent multitasker. Single tasking, single focus, you guys. And for those of you who don't know this, bonus, multitasking is actually harmful to us. Multitasking is actually harmful. There are negative effects of multitasking. Trish says, yep. Georgie says multitasking will be her demise one day. Yeah, Georgie, it very well could be because there are real negative effects to multitasking. All right. It's not just that we're halfway doing one thing and halfway doing another thing and not really doing either one well. There are true harmful negative effects of multitasking. Multitasking has been shown to create problems focusing on important or complicated tasks. All right, there is a study done, you guys, about nurses in hospitals who were, while in the process of dispensing medication, distracted by a colleague who would come up and ask them a question or, need their help with something, right? It's other people's problems kind of distraction, maybe. Nurses who were in the process of dispensing medication were being distracted in their job, and it was actually causing them to dispense medication incorrectly. And it was leading to patient negative outcomes for patients, and in some cases death. And this is an actual study that was done, you guys. And so they started piloting a program in a couple of hospitals where when the nurses were dispensing medication, they would wear an orange vest. And that would designate, I'm dispensing medication, don't bother me. This is my do not disturb sign, literally, is this orange vest. And then they studied the outcomes from that. And it was like an off limits. You absolutely can't ask me for anything. You can't ask me questions. I'm doing my patient medication runs right now and I'm off limits. And you guys, it slashed medication errors in those hospitals, improved patient outcomes because the nurses weren't distracted in dispensing medication. So not only does it have negative, repercussions for us multitasking, it can have negative repercussions in the workplace with people who are being distracted and responsible for other people's care. So that's one way, focusing on important or complicated tasks. It can have really harmful negative outcomes. Number two, multitasking can also affect our memory. So it can create memory impairment issues. It can also create difficulty in learning and retaining new material. So if we're trying to learn something and we're multitasking and doing something else, we're not really retaining what we think we are. It also increases stress because we're trying to do 2 or 3 or however many things at one time. So our stress level physically increases. And we think we're multitasking to be more efficient, to get more done in the same amount of time. It actually is shown to reduce our efficiency. So you guys, multitasking, number one cause of our distractions, our attention deficit, all the things, and it is harming us. So let's make a pact to stop multitasking, All right. Also, at the top of the show, you guys, I mentioned that you would see links in our description each week to support our content and community, and that each week we pay it forward with a 10% contribution to a charity doing important work in our communities or across the country. And it's that time I want to tell you about this week's charity. And this week's charity is super important to me. I think it's going to be one that resonates with a lot of us, you guys. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And we don't have to, show our hands in the comments unless you want to share. But I would bet that most of us know a friend or a family member, or we ourselves have been impacted by this disease in some way. Breast cancer. 1 in 8 American women will contract breast cancer over the course of her life. That's 12% of American women. 1 in 8 will be diagnosed with breast cancer over the course of her life. All right. So prevalent. Scott and I both have family members on both sides of our families who have been affected by this disease. It affects so many of us. I know friends who have lost friends at a young age. We had a friend who actually started a breast cancer organization about detection for women under 40 because she lost a friend at such a young age. So I know this disease has impacted a lot of us. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, you guys. And this week's charity is the Breast Cancer Research Foundation. It is the highest rated breast cancer charity in the United States for its use of funds, for its efficiency and effectiveness. The mission of the Breast Cancer Research Foundation is to prevent and cure breast cancer by advancing the world's most promising research. So this is an organization that works on prevention and finding a cure. And they actually fund 300 researchers across the globe who are working to find a cure for this pervasive disease. So this week's charity, you guys, is the Breast Cancer Research Foundation. So that is where 10% of this week's donations will be going. So if you haven't already made a contribution to support our content and community, please consider it. We will be making a contribution to support the prevention and the cure of breast cancer through the Breast Cancer Research Foundation. Nico says, can someone please tell her boss? Please. Yeah, Nico. Our workplaces are one of the most distraction-ridden, multitasking, like black holes on the planet, right? I shared my experiences from corporate America. I know there are so many workplaces where it's a badge of honor to say that you're multitasking. They want you to, it's always on, right? That was a phrase that was thrown around all the time at my old workplace, right? They give you the tools, they give you the laptop, they give you the phone, and they're like, it's okay if you use it for personal stuff too. We just expect you to always be available when we need you for something. So that means responding to emails at 9 and 10 o'clock at night. That means getting emails from your boss at 5:30 in the morning, which is a true story and happened, to me. And there were the expectations that there would be rapid replies. And so, Nico, I get it. It's so hard, and setting boundaries with our time is so important. I want to get to the tips and resources part of the content, because setting boundaries around our time is one of those tips, and letting people know, I'm not going to multitask. I'm going to focus on one thing at a time, because at the end of the day, you're going to get better work out of me if I am able to do this. And Nico also says she lost her best friend at 39. Nico, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Yeah, so many, such a broad affecting and devastating disease. So proud to be supporting that organization this week, the Breast Cancer Research Foundation. Okay, so you guys, I want to share 12 tips and resources for regaining and maintaining our focus. So I have 6 tips and 6 resources I want to share. All right, so number 1, this is probably going to be obvious, but I'm going to say it anyway. Stop multitasking. Single focus, single tasking, right? It's why I shared the quote I shared at the beginning of the episode, the Zen proverb. It's why I picked that one, right? It's all about not multitasking. When walking, walk. When eating, eat, right? When we're doing the thing, do the thing. One thing at a time. Because multitasking has a host of negative effects. Nico, if you need some backup, there's actually a Forbes article that lists out all of these negative effects of multitasking and how, workplaces are starting to catch on that this is actually a really bad thing. And I'm going to share that article in the show notes. So the show notes will go live on my website at noon tomorrow, and I will include that Forbes article that actually lists all of those harmful side effects of multitasking, specifically aimed at businesses so they start to get it. Trish says she forgets to eat or take care of her needs at work. Yeah. It's multitasking, right? You guys, let's stop multitasking. Let's make a pact, stop multitasking. It's better for us. It's better for our health. It's better for our mental and emotional wellness. And it's better for the work we're actually doing. It's better for the people that we're spending our time with if we're not distracted and trying to do 6 other things at the same time. It's better. So let's stop multitasking. It is not a badge of honor. All right. Tip number 2, meditation, you guys, meditation. And I know I've heard people say like, oh, meditation just isn't for me. I can't sit still for that long. My mind races. And I get it, right? If it's something that you're not used to doing, when you first sit down to do it, it is going to be uncomfortable. And it might be uncomfortable for a while. But there's so many studies that show the positive benefits of meditation. And this is something I think everybody can benefit from. I will sing the praises of meditation from the rooftops, you guys, because doing it over and over and over a period of time trains our brains to focus. And it's the thing that allows me to recognize those moments of distraction more quickly. So by learning to focus, we're also learning to recognize our distractions more easily and pivot away from them, right? So, and it's also building in intentional white space, right? It's building intentional white space into our day so we can get comfortable just centering, breathing, and being, because it's so important. So often we just run. As soon as we get up in the morning, if we hit the snooze alarm, we're already running late, we're already running behind, and all of our day is just trying to play catch up from getting out of bed. And deliberately building white space into our days is so important for our health across the board, so important for our wellness on every level. Meditation. All right, tip number 3. If you need to do something and you think it's going to be boring or you hate it, like that report, right, I was mentioning earlier, and it's something that we procrastinate or we intentionally distract ourselves from doing, and then it creates this problem later, gamify it. Right? Gamify it or build in a reward in some way to make it more fun. And, odds are it will get more fun, right? Or just hyper focus on something. Make it as fun as possible. Think about how you can, and I know, right, like government reports, probably not like a super fun thing, but if you say, all right, there's 6 chunks, 6 sections of this report, I'm going to take, a week's worth of time, do 1 section a day, and every day after I get my section done, I'm going to treat myself to my favorite, latte, or I'm going to have a piece of, Halloween candy, or I'm going to do whatever. But gamify it. Give yourself a reward for doing the hard thing, for doing the thing that sucks, so we don't let ourselves be distracted by it and then create more problems down the road. All right. Number 4, I already talked about this one a little bit, but our schedules need to reflect our values. Our schedules need to reflect the things that are important. So write it all down. The date nights, reading before bed, doing yoga, meditating, whatever it is for you. If it's something that you value, make the time for it and name it. Name it in your daily schedule. All right, number 5, and I said this around the multitasking, right? Set boundaries with your time and enforce them. And that goes for everywhere, right? Every facet of your time. Scott and I both work from home, before the pandemic even started, right? We've gotten really good at being respectful of each other's time and space during our day. So we're not always the colleague hanging out in the doorway, hey, do you want to go grab lunch or something, right? We know we keep a schedule so that we can refer to it and know what each person, if he has a co-write, I know, do not disturb during that 3-hour block that he's, on a call right now on Zoom to Nashville or whatever. Or if I'm with a client, like that's on our calendar. So he knows, like, don't come strolling into my office, during these times. And it's amazing when we actually start setting boundaries and enforcing them, that people start respecting them, because it shows that we're respecting our own time. So a lot of times I think people will see how far they can push and how much they can get away with. And if we let those expectations creep in and we're responsive to those 5:30 in the morning emails and all the things, right? They'll just keep pushing and they'll just keep taking more and more and more of our time. Set boundaries and enforce them. Number 6, the last tip I want to share before we dive into the resources I want to share, and then we're going to wrap this up for tonight because I know we've already gone over by a little bit. But the last tip I want to share, check your phone, check your devices, check them. But I don't mean like, oh, I just need to check my phone and we're on Facebook for 20 minutes. I mean, check them like an airplane check, okay? Out of sight, out of access. When you're on date night, check your phone like it's your big old suitcase at the airport and you can't fit it in the overhead bin, all right? Check it. It goes out of sight, it's out of access. The devices go away during those important times so that we're not sucked in to email, to texting, to social media, to, whatever game we're addicted to, whatever it is. Check your phone, but it doesn't mean look at it. It means check it like luggage, you guys. Check it like the rest of our baggage, right? Check the devices. All right, 6 resources I want to share. Quickly, you guys know I love books. I want to share 3 books that I think are really, really helpful with regard to tonight's topic. One is a book I got a lot of information from to share tonight, and it's this book, Indistractable. So I got some of my tips from this, and it also goes a lot deeper into some of the science and into more tips for becoming distraction free. So Indistractable, How to Control Your Attention and Choose Your Life. Really, really good resource. Number 2, The One Thing. And I think I've mentioned this book before, but it's about, singular focus. It's about doing less to do more. The One Thing. Stop multitasking, you guys. And this one, I haven't mentioned before, but The War of Art, you guys, you've heard of Sun Tzu's like Art of War, right? This is the War of Art. And it's not necessarily a how-to, but it's a kind of like, yeah, we all suffer from this kind of thing. We all get it. And it's about how anytime we embark on an important thing, right? It's about the sabotage that we do to ourselves, and that we do it when we're starting on a, big, important new thing in our lives. More often than not, we declare war on our own art. Whether it's an exercise program, whether it's starting our business and we're delaying, we're procrastinating, we're getting distracted by things. This book talks about that. It's a natural occurrence. It's almost a law of nature, like gravity. It will happen, and it's about fighting that urge. The War of Art. I love this book. This guy was on an Oprah Super Soul Conversation talking about this book. It's really profound, and you read it and you're like, oh my God, he totally gets me. Like, I do all of those things, and he wrote this book about it years ago, and it's something that so many of us experience and go through. All right, resource number 4, for meditation. I know I've talked about this one before. I use the Calm app. It may not be the one that works for everybody, but try meditation if you've never tried it before. And even if you have and you tried it once or twice and you're like, it's not for me, give it a longer shot. Give it a longer shot and see after a week, 2 weeks, how you're feeling about it. But if it's still not going to be meditation, find something that builds intentional white space into your day that works for you. Build intentional white space into your day to just breathe and center, get ready, calm yourself. And I recommend doing it in the morning, right? Because, yeah, it's helpful also if you can do it at night and kind of get centered before you go to bed. But doing that in the morning and just kind of centering and getting set up for the day helps you maintain your focus throughout the day. Number 5 resource, I've already mentioned it, a day planner. I use the Day Designer, but some kind of really useful, functional paper day planner that allows you to name your priorities for the day and also block out your day by half-hour increments and an ideal week, so you can do that comparison and see if you're being distracted or pulled away from how you want to be spending your time. So a paper planner of some sort. If you want to check out the day designers, you can go to my website and click on the day designer widget on my homepage. And number 6, the last resource I want to share is, again, the screen time. It's not just an app that will shame you for how much time you've been spending on your devices. It's also super helpful because it lets you do things like set limits for apps. So you can say, like, I don't want to spend more than 30 minutes a day on Instagram. You can literally set limits for your apps. You can also still have your phone with you because I know one of the things, I've said time and time again, like, check your phone, which means like put it away, check it like baggage. But people will say, well, gosh, like my mom is, not doing well right now. And what if she calls me and she needs me for something? Or, I'm responsible for, this, work thing. What if my boss calls, or what if somebody needs me? The screen time function in our iPhones also lets us prioritize, like set settings for specific contacts. So contacts in our phone. So like, let the calls from your mom go through, but turn everyone else off, right? Or let the calls from, your boss come through if that's necessary during the days of, the work hours that you have set up or whatever. Turn the other things off while you're working so the other distractions don't happen. It lets us actually set limits on our apps, set preferences for specific contacts if, we need to stay in contact with our spouse or, whatever it is, our kids, right, might need us for something. So you can let those calls come through or texts, but it shuts everything else off. Screen time, really valuable feature on our phones, you guys. All right, that is our show for today. Thank you so much for being here, for spending this Monday evening with me. I hope you were able to take away some really actionable tips, resources, and some learnings that will help you overcome distractions in your life. I know it's a work in progress, all right, guys? And we are actually doing this work, right? It's not the abandoned she shed. We're doing the work. All right, just want to remind you guys that our book for October is Dan Rather's What Unites Us, leading up to Election Day in November. This is about the things that, as Americans, unite us, common values that we all share. You guys, we'll be talking about this book in 2 weeks. In the meantime, I will see you back here next Monday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern for another episode of Sparked. Thank you so much for being here tonight with me, you guys. Be good to each other. Be good to yourselves. I love you.